Over the course of baseball history, there have been thousands of embarrassing mistakes and blunders that even the best of the best are ashamed of. However, some of these mistakes can cause a team to lose the most important game of the season and even put a player's life in serious danger. MLB teams have lost pivotal games for the dumbest and most frustrating reasons, but these are the 10 worst endings to games in baseball history. One of the more abnormal incidents in baseball is a balk, where the pitcher makes an illegal movement or motion while on the mound. To put into perspective how rare a balk is in the MLB, out of the 2,430 games played in the 2022 season, there were only 122 balks. Balking is pretty embarrassing, especially when it involves falling down or failing miserably to get the ball to the catcher. However, there are few balks that were quite as shameful as the San Diego balk-off. In the bottom of a 10-inning game between the Giants and Padres, Giants pitcher Santiago Casilla had runners on first and third with no outs. Casilla delivered the pitch and tripped over himself, allowing the runner on third to score the winning run after the balk call. The so-called balk-off is very rare and is one of the worst ways to end a baseball game. Since 1914, there have been no more than 30 balk-offs in the history of baseball, and while it's incredibly painful to lose a close game on a pitching technicality, Santiago Casilla isn't the only pitcher to make a game-ending mistake. In 2005, the Oakland A's and Los Angeles Angels were in the 9th inning of a tied game. With 2 outs, the A's had the winning run on third base, but they still had to get through the 6-time All-Star Francisco Rodriguez. Rodriguez threw a nasty curveball that should have been called a strike, and since he was upset with the call, he lazily tried to grab the routine throwback from the catcher. Rodriguez dropped the baseball and gave plenty of time for Jason Kendall to score from third. The crowd reaction from Oakland fans was unbelievable, and even the newspaper claimed it was the strangest win anyone had seen in years. Francisco Rodriguez had an incredibly successful career as a closer, but this game-ending error is unfortunately high on the list of his notable moments. While the Oakland A's were on the winning side, this next incident makes them look worse than a Little League team. In 2018, the Houston Astros pulled off one of the most confusing wins in baseball history, but it also made an A's player so embarrassed that they described the finish as a big zoo. In the bottom of the 11th inning with runners on first and second, Alex Bregman was at the plate and fully capable of winning the game with one swing. Blake Treinen delivered a 1-2 fastball that Bregman hit about 5 feet. A's catcher Jonathan Lucroy picked the ball up and tried to tag Bregman, completely missed, then threw the ball at Bregman's helmet, which ricocheted into the outfield. Kyle Tucker scored easily from second and the game was over. It's a good thing the Astros used their camera system to hit a 5-foot walk-off. The Oakland A's were completely stunned at what just happened, but A's manager Bob Melvin wanted to challenge whether or not Bregman stayed in the baseline while running to second. After a 5-minute review, the umpires called Bregman safe and the game was officially over. As for this next incident, the embarrassment factor is kicked up to the highest level. Getting picked off in baseball is incredibly common, but it doesn't make you look very good. And if you get picked off in a pivotal moment of an important game, that really makes you look bad. In Game 2 of the 2023 AL Wildcard Series, Vlad Guerrero Jr. got picked off at second base to stop a Blue Jays rally dead in its tracks. In Game 2 of the 2023 World Series, Tommy Pham got picked off to end the Diamondbacks rally in the 6th. While both of these cases were embarrassing, none of them actually ended the baseball game. In Game 4 of the 2013 World Series between the Red Sox and Cardinals, Alan Craig hit a single to right field, but wasn't capable of running, so Colton Wong was elected to pinch run at first base. The Cardinals had the tying run at the plate with 2 outs already recorded. Seemingly out of nowhere, Koji Uehara picked off Colton Wong at first base to end the game and tie the series at 2 apiece. This was so unexpected that the camera crew barely even picked it up. The Cardinals stadium went from electrified to dead silent in a matter of seconds, but that wasn't even the worst way a game ended in that exact World Series. In Game 3 of the 2013 World Series, the Cardinals had runners on second and third in the bottom of the 9th. John Jay hit a ground ball to Dustin Pedroia, who made a great diving play and throw to home plate. Jared Saltalamacchia then threw the ball to Will Middlebrooks at third, and it got away towards the outfield. Now what happened next is extremely unfortunate for the Red Sox, as the runner Alan Craig tripped over Middlebrooks, who's still on the ground, and obstruction was called. Craig was clearly out at the plate, but the home plate umpire signaled to third base and called interference with the runner. The Red Sox did everything right. Uehara drew an infield ground ball, Pedroia made an excellent play, Saltalamacchia made the tag, but the wide throw to third and the fact that Middlebrooks didn't get out of the way made this a painful loss for the Boston Red Sox. Third base umpire Jim Joyce made the right call with obstruction, and it's a shame he'll only be remembered for destroying Armando Galarraga's perfect game in 2010. While the Red Sox loss in Game 3 was a nasty one, at least they didn't have to play for 7 7 hours just to lose because of a bad call. On July 27, 2011, the Braves and Pirates played one of the longest games in baseball history. The Pirates jumped ahead and scored 3 runs, and the Braves immediately followed with 3 runs in the 3rd inning. The game remained tied for the next 16 innings, and the bottom of the 19th featured one of the worst blown calls of all time. The Braves had runners on 2nd and 3rd. Scott Proctor hit a ground ball to 3rd base, and the throw to home beat the runner Julio Lugo by a country mile. Michael McHenry applied the tag, but umpire Jerry Meals somehow called Lugo safe and the game was over. Pirates manager Clint Hurdle came out and completely lost his mind on Jerry Meals, whose argument was that the tag swiped by the runner but never actually touched him. This sparked a widespread debate on whether or not the call was correct, but after the game, Jerry Meals publicly addressed his mistake and apologized to the Pirates organization for essentially ruining a 7-hour-long game. When looking closely, you can see the tag hit the leg of Julio Lugo. For the call to be safe in any way, there needed to be definitive evidence that showed the tag missed the runner completely, and there was none. Even though that game went down as one of the worst losses in Pirates history, it wasn't even close to the embarrassment that occurred with Gregory Polanco. In 2015, the Pirates made a tremendous comeback against the Cubs and tied the game at 10 in the 9th inning. The game went scoreless until the bottom of the 12th when the Cubs had the bases loaded and 1 out. Matt Caesar hit a very routine fly ball to right field directly towards Gregory Polanco. Polanco was a strong defensive player, but it didn't take a platinum glove athlete to make this catch. Polanco began slipping on the grass and fell over on his side, and the baseball landed just a few feet away from him. After the Cubs walked it off, Gregory Polanco was seen walking off the field in complete humiliation. Manager Clint Hurdle was quoted in saying, "This game is going to humble you. You learn from experiences that come with it, and I believe he will." While Polanco's embarrassing blunder was rather simple, the 2005 drop third strike scandal made everyone confused. The 2005 ALCS between the Angels and White Sox featured one of the most controversial plays in league history. The Angels took Game 1 of the series in Chicago, but Game 2 was close until the very end. Both starting pitchers Mark Burley and Jared Washburn pitched very well to start Game 2. But in the bottom of the 9th, game tied 1-1, it was up to Angels pitcher Kelvin Escobar to save the game and bring the team to extra innings. After getting the first 2 outs no problem, the only thing standing between the Angels and extra innings was AJ Pierzynski. On a 3-2 count, Pierzynski swung and missed at strike 3. Angels catcher John Paul rolled the ball back to the pitcher's mound, but Pierzynski for some reason started running to first base. Initially, the home plate umpire called AJ out on the strike 3 call, but he ran to first just in case the ball landed in the dirt for a drop third strike. The umpire saw Pierzynski's confident reaction as a sign that the ball actually landed in the dirt, which it didn't. This resulted in the umpire calling Pierzynski safe at first base. The Angels defense and manager were completely enraged at how this call was even possible, but that anger didn't help them finish the job. Pablo Ozuna pinch ran for Pierzynski at first base and immediately stole second to put pressure on Angels closer Kelvin Escobar. On the very next play, Joe Crede smashed a ball to left field that hit off the wall and scored Ozuna from second base, giving the White Sox a walk-off victory in Game 2. And Joe Buck was absolutely right.
And this only begins what will be an argument. Total frustration and disgust on the part of the Angels.
Nobody lost sleep over the sour Game 2 defeat, but Luis Castillo's infamous mistake may have made him go crazy. The Yankees and Mets Subway Series rivalry is one of the biggest in all sports, and this particular game in 2009 was an instant classic. On June 12th, the Yankees were trailing by 1 run going into the bottom of the 9th. Alex Rodriguez stood at the plate with 2 runners on base, and everyone in Yankee Stadium knew the importance of the situation. You see, since both teams are in separate leagues, they don't get to play each other very often, which is the exact reason why the which team is better argument is so popular between the 2 New York squads. Prior to this game, the Mets and Yankees have faced off in the 2000 World Series, which had its fair share of major controversy. After the Yankees' dramatic World Series win, the New York Subway Series games have consistently drawn massive crowds at both Yankee Stadium and in Queens. Up until 2009, the Yankees have dominated the Mets in terms of overall record, and thanks to Luis Castillo, that remains the case. With the Mets being 1 out away from a desperate win, Castillo did this.
Castillo dropped the ball! He dropped the ball! Here comes Teixeira! And the Yankees win!
Since there were 2 outs, the runners on first and second were hustling on contact and able to score with no problem. As for Castillo, he was completely distraught. Article after article was written about the awful play, and reports were made that Castillo spent the entire sleepless night crying and stressing out about the event. While this is one of the worst ways to possibly lose a baseball game, it wasn't even close to the #1 pick. Yes, it's obviously Bill Buckner, don't act all surprised. In Game 6 of the 1986 World Series, Mets hitter Mookie Wilson hit a ground ball between the legs of Bill Buckner, which ended the game and forced a Game 7, which the Mets inevitably won. Buckner received a never-ending pile of hate, which included death threats, booing, and harassment. When the Boston-Zakin Bridge was built in 2003, Red Sox fans named it the Bill Buckner Bridge due to the two structures that resemble a pair of legs fielding a ground ball. Bill Buckner was a true unsung hero who played for an impressive 22 seasons. However, he's still responsible for the worst loss in baseball history. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel, and click here to learn about baseball's weirdest cheating methods.